Good morning, Alex. So, Alex Young, it's wonderful to have you on Freeflow Coffee Time Chats. How's your week going?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm having a lovely week. If anyone's watching the video on, you can see I'm sat on our roof terrace at projects. And it's a Friday, so I have nothing to complain about.
That's wonderful. I think one of the things that I was really struck by when we first met, and I know that terrace really, really well from having been a member at Projects Club co-working space, was I think what really struck me was the positivity of your mindset, and just how driven you are. I just really felt very, very drawn to the passion that you have for what you do, where you are. And I'm just curious, maybe I know more the professional side of you. I know, I've seen you at work and everything, but what actually makes you happy as a person? What would you say really sparks your energy?
That's very, very kind of you to say. I hope that you weren't interrupted like I was on my side by the seagull. Can you hear this?
It's okay actually on this side. I hope you don't get
Okay.
interrupted by our builders.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's saying noise suppressed, so I'm glad because he's a very noisy boy that's right next to me. Um, I would say it's always been this way for us, honestly, like as long as I can remember, that for me to be happy, I have to be making people around me happy. I can't, it doesn't exist in a silo. I really enjoy doing things for other people that just make them feel supported, seen, listened to. And so I am very fortunate to be in a job where I'm surrounded by people all the time. Co-working is all about community, and I have an amazing team of 10 people that I get to see every day, and they're a joy to be around. And my number one hiring criteria is just hire people for this industry that really love people. And so we really want our members to feel that way when they come into the space, like they're in and amongst people that are just there to make their day a bit better. And sometimes that is literally just listening to them moan about their shitty meeting that they've had, or other times it's them sharing really exciting news with us about a promotion or an engagement or whatever. But we're here to like be part of their lives. We see them every day. And so yeah, I get so much pleasure from being around my team and seeing them interact with our members and me interacting with our community, that it's hard not to be happy. Not everybody is always experiencing a good day, but we all have power within us to influence that for the better, even in ways that you might not realize, like opening the door and smiling for someone, or just taking the time to check if they're all right and they need a cup of tea. All those micro moments really make people feel like they're actually part of society and that they matter. And that matters more than I think so much, and more than we ever can really realize. So yeah, I get my happiness from being around people and doing small things to try and make them a bit happier.
Yeah, so I think community is something that is vastly underrated these days, isn't it? And I think we're seeing that, and we've been seeing that over the past few recent years, where people are going back to that. When you think about, I realize, as director of projects, you have lots of people working under you. You said 10 people, you've got a team of 10 working for you. What would you say are the key ingredients of creating a vibrant, collaborative environment?
So I kind of started to share already what I think makes a really important, special community, and that is care. And so for us in our business, a lot of it is about retention, and it's about we're based in Brighton at the moment, predominantly, though we are opening other sites. The first one to come outside of Brighton is Tunbridge Wells in September. So yeah, for me, the really important part of growing a team is making sure that they feel cared for, and how that translates in a business setting, not that that's the be all and end all, but there is such a correlation between our team being happy and then our members feeling like that's somewhere that they really want to work from.
Definitely.
I think you can have the most beautiful co-working space and amazing high-speed Wi-Fi and great coffee, but if you've got someone on the front desk that looks a bit disgruntled and doesn't really want to help you, then you're not going to get the best feeling. I think genuinely, I always say you could run the best co-working space in the world from a shed. You just need someone there who's happy to be there and wants to see you. But I can't expect that of my team if I don't show them that they're valued and they're valued as a whole person. I think luckily we're moving away from the times where you meant to come into work with purely a work version of yourself. Now, obviously, you've got to maintain a certain level of professionalism, but really, like, we've all got lots going on in our lives, and we spend the majority of our waking hours with our colleagues. And so for me, if that's not a positive work environment, what's the point? You know, we can touch on financial well-being, and that's obviously super important, and it's part of it. People need to be fairly remunerated and feel recognized and rewarded, and that is part of them feeling happy at work. But that's not the only way that they're going to be happy when they come into work. They need to know that, we'll be able to slightly shift their responsibility for that day depending on what they feel that they can give. If they're going through something really difficult, putting them on the front desk might not be the best thing for them, but recognizing that maybe they need a longer lunch break to go for a walk, or maybe we need to work out if we can provide some therapy for them, or put them on some training that might make them feel more excited about their role, or give them a project which aligns with their passions. Then when they are people facing, or when they are contributing to a meeting, or when they are putting forward ideas, they're going to be so much more willing to really give you their absolute best, because they know that they're well looked after. So yeah, I think psychological safety is obviously hugely important, financial well-being, and just recognition and celebration. Like, I've just gotten on this call with you, having done a team meeting. We do a monthly team meeting with the whole company, and obviously lots of smaller meetings throughout the month. But in the team meeting, I asked everybody to look to the person next to them, take a few moments and think about a huge win that they've seen that person accomplish recently. And we went around and shared them. I know that can sound really cheesy, but it's just so nice, because we see the amazing things that our colleagues are doing every day. And I think about amazing things that my team do all the time. And I wish that I always told them in the moment. I want to do that more. And I try, and we've got incentives amongst our team for them to do that. But that's one of them, like sharing those wins and everybody basking in that. And that's just a wonderful way of making sure that people feel recognized for the hard work that they put in. But yeah, for them to be able to give their best, we have to acknowledge that their 100% might look different in different days, and that's okay, because we're humans.
Well, it's coming down to being, feeling seen and heard, isn't it? And I think one of the things it's quite nice to do is to have like a post-it wall, so you can just randomly, because you forget over a month, you forget everything that you've seen people do, everything that they've achieved. So it's quite nice, sort of, as it comes up, you think, actually, yeah, thanks for doing that, or it's a nice thing.
We have so you used to be on our Slack channel, didn't you?
We had
a community messaging system. So we have a closed channel just for our team on Slack, and we've got this really cool integration with something called Hey Taco. And Hey Taco allows you as a company to reward your team if they've done great work by enabling people to send each other a nice message on the team channel. So it might be like, oh, Emily, you did an amazing tour and 3 people signed up. Well done. And you tag the little taco emoji, and 1 taco is associated with, it equals £1. And then we as a company can load up while we want people to be able to spend their tacos on Taco Shop. So everybody in the team can give a taco out a day. And senior leadership can give a few more than that in case they want to reward a team. And then people can cash in their tacos by like getting a voucher for a local restaurant, or if you get 100 tacos, you get a day off. So yeah, it's really, really nice. And it's a nice way of like thanking the team for doing great work as a company, but also encouraging, mutual collaboration, celebration. So we find that works really well. I've not actually heard of another company using it. I'm sure many companies do, but it works really well for us.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds great. What would you say from a point of view of learning? You went into management at quite a young age, and you've been in this role for a fairly long time as well. So what led you to go down the path of management, and what really made you go for a co-working space? I mean, you've alluded to some of that, but what drew you to that?
So I'll start by explaining how I got into co-working. I studied sociology at university, and I was fascinated by people working in groups. Like, I've always been interested in different types of work and workspaces. I did a lot of internships growing up. I spent my summers in random companies. At anyone that I could get to know, I'd say, can I come and do a week or a month? And I'd work for free and just like observe how they were doing things, mainly because I'm nosy. I think my mum's a journalist and I've always grown up like asking people a lot of questions. And I really, really hated school. We were talking about school just before we started this call, and I was really keen to get into the world of work. It just felt like I'd be taken seriously and be able to talk a bit more. I'm a big talker, as you can probably tell, and that doesn't really work out that well when you're meant to be sat on a carpet being quiet. So I was in trouble a lot for talking at school, and I really just wanted to like have conversations with people and get into work. So when I was at university, I worked for lots of different marketing agencies, like freelancing, and they were all based out of different co-working spaces in the city. So I went to the University of Sussex. Brighton's great for co-working, and so I really got my understanding of co-working from going into different spaces and seeing how they were being run. I'd always speak to the community managers there, and I was quite jealous of their jobs. Probably wasn't doing the best job of freelance marketing and just generally being a bit nosy in a co-working space instead. But it worked out well for me in the long run because luckily, and it genuinely was a dream come true, there was an opportunity to help open a co-working space, a brand new space in Brighton when I graduated. And that space is called Projects, and it's where I am to this day. I have left and worked for other companies and come back, but I helped open the first Projects workspace back in 2018 when I graduated. And I've been in this industry for coming up for 10 years now. And I love it because it's so varied. There's a lot of talking to people, which works out well for me, but there's also sales, facilities management, events, marketing, sustainability. Like, it's such a varied role, honestly. If I look at my calendar, even just look at one day, I'll be in a meeting about recertifying as a B Corp, and then I'll be looking at our leaky air conditioning. And then I'll be talking to somebody about a new event that we're running, and then I'll be looking at how can we help this company grow into a new office in the building. It's really fun. So that works out well for me because I'm quite generalist. How I got into managing was, in all honesty, leaving jobs that weren't right for me because unfortunately, it's quite often the case that you leave a job when you don't absolutely love your manager. And there are studies that show that having managers that aren't good for you can cause more detriment to your mental health than anything else, actually. I think the number one cause of depression in workers is bad relationships, like personal relationships, romantic, but also managers. So I had a string of interesting work experiences that I learned a lot from, but when the time felt right, in that I wasn't being looked after in the way that I felt I would look after people, in quite a significant way, I decided to move on. And I was fortunate that being able to like get good experience, learn from things that I always feel like you learn the most from hard lessons, right? And
definitely.
I took a lot of how I wanted to be as a manager from things that were passed on to me that I wouldn't want to do to somebody else, and also some really good things that I learned. Like, they weren't all bad experiences. They definitely weren't bad people, but there was lots of factors that just meant that I didn't always feel this is how I want to feel at work, and this is how I would be happy to lead a team. So I think I picked up a lot of what works and what doesn't work when it comes to team culture. And in interviews, I was able to speak to that. And I really wanted to put in place a great team and look after them. And because going back to my earlier point, I know that that is the key success metric when it comes to running a great space and creating a great community. It comes from the culture and the team. And then they spread that with our members and visitors and community. So, yeah, I think the shortest answer really to the question of how I got into managing was leaving a job that wasn't right for me, and then being able to articulate in a positive way how I would like to lead a team. And I was really keen, motivated to have a team of my own and instill a great culture. And I've loved being a manager. That is absolutely the favorite part of my job.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's particularly when you've witnessed firsthand what it's like to have all these managers of yours who where you're thinking, I could do this completely differently. It needs to be done differently. And my memory of being a member at projects was seeing you being very visible. You're a very visible director, very visible manager, that you are, you're among the co-workers, you're among your colleagues, you're not somewhere up there in an ivory tower, which I think is so important, because it's really very much about putting yourself, your personality, your energy into the space too. So it's a very interesting path, isn't it? Seeing how things are done and then adapting so that they become better and better.
And I think to make things better, you have to really understand what's working and what isn't working. And you can rely on people telling you that if you aren't as around for whatever reason. But really, by the time that they're coming to tell you that there's a problem, it might be slightly too late. So I think trying to be as observant as possible is key to being like proactive when it comes to like having a really good culture and spotting like, oh, that looks a bit difficult, or you look a bit stretched, or, I'm noticing that this keeps happening. You want to be able to do both well and encourage people to be able to speak up before something is a problem. But I think it helps when you're ready to jump in and support them. Like I would never have somebody do a job that I wouldn't be happy doing myself. And I keep talking about community, but we're a collaborative workspace. We're in it together. There's no job which is too big or too small for anyone in this company. And actually, talking about other managers, I remember one of them, the owner of the business I worked at, 5-6 years ago. He said, in our industry, no one's too busy to stack the dishwasher. It has to be like that. And I really liked that. I took that. It's a really great metaphor that we're in this together. You're going to tuck the chair in, you're going to put the coffee cup away, and that's not something which we deem as like a lower task. It's really like we maintain this together. So I think your culture has to be consistent. You have to lead in a way that you want to see your team lead and your community work. It's a bit like the broken window theory. If people see that you're not really looking after them, they're not going to. How can you expect them to? So yeah, it's really important for me to be part of it. Then they feel they can speak to you more openly as well because they trust you.
What would you say for you has been the biggest learning curve as a director of projects?
That's a really good question. I think I quite like taking risks, but I think you have to make sure that you're able to manage change well, because we've taken quite a lot of risks at projects, from totally changing how we structure our memberships. Like now we just have one 24/7 membership called Residence, and people can literally access space whenever they want to, because previously people were buying hours, so you'd have 40 hours or 80 hours, and we just felt that was putting the team in quite an awkward spot where they were trying to monitor people's hours and then tell them that they'd gone over, and the members often didn't know how long they'd been there, and it was all just kind of a bit of a guessing game, and if you got caught out, you're unlucky, and it just created quite an unpleasant working environment for everyone, for the team, for the members that felt they were being clock watched. And so it was a risk to eliminate that altogether, because it means that if you only want to use a space for a limited number of hours, you have to buy a day pass, which, you still have access to the space. You can buy a half-day pass or a full-day pass. But really, to become a member, you have 24/7 access. And then it becomes much more of a feeling that you're really part of this. It's your business's home. And it's worked out well for us. But I think that's just one risk that we've taken. There have been lots, and to put your team through constant change requires them to feel that they can articulate their concerns, that their concerns will be listened to, that if we make a mistake, that's okay, we're going to try and rectify. But I kind of feel like the greatest successes come from taking some risks. But I think for me, it's been a really interesting learning curve of naturally being quite like up for change, but also realizing that our team, they all come with different personalities, and that's what makes them wonderful, and different relationships with our members, and different concerns, ideas, suggestions, worries, and creating a culture in which they feel that they are encouraged to articulate their thoughts around change, and that we'll try our best to mitigate issues and respond to anything that comes up. That's what I've had to learn, and I definitely haven't always got it right. But I do think it's quite reflective of business as a whole right now. Like, a lot is changing for so many people, whether it's because of the cost of living, or AI. Change is constant. So I think a key thing, if you're a leader, is making sure that you work really hard on change management, and you make sure that your people they're often a lot more knowledgeable about different things than you are. So you need to be able to get their input on things. And that doesn't mean you'll always do exactly what they suggest. My got a team of 10. Sometimes I've got 10 very different suggestions. I can't do them all. But it's really about making sure that people feel like, even if you don't do what they're suggesting, you want to hear what they have to say, and that will be taken into consideration.
Well,
So
you need that breadth of perspective. That's really important. Otherwise, you've got you coming to the table with blinkers on, and that just doesn't work. I think you need to hear the opposite side and have devil's advocates in there. So
definitely.
important.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting, we're seeing, as you said, Brighton's very well off for co-working spaces, and they've all got different concepts. It's interesting hearing that you've got rid of the hours concept within your space. Where do you see, in terms of, they're popping up all over the place. London is full of them. I think most capital cities or large cities are full of them. Why are they becoming so popular? Where is this going to go in 10, 20 years time? Do you think that people are going to come away from working from home and are feeling, well, even if my company's not going to have me, I'm going to a co-working space?
It's definitely been a really interesting time to be part of the world of co-working, because when I first graduated, no one predicted, majority of people did not predict a pandemic. So I think co-working spaces, I mean, you mentioned London is the epicenter of co-working, like globally. It's absolutely incredible. But predominantly back in, the early stages of co-working, it was just small businesses or startups that were based out of them. And then what happened with COVID was people were tied into big, long leases for 10, 20 years and weren't needing to go in or weren't allowed to go in. And that put them in quite a difficult situation financially. And so coming out of that now, people, when they need to renew or take a new space, they're much more keen on having a space that enables them to have flexibility. They also don't know the implications on, future pandemics or, global issues and what that will mean for the size of their business. It might mean that they grow exponentially. So if they're assigned to a 20-year lease in a building that's too small, that's not going to work for them. Or it might mean that they shrink. Lots of businesses are in those kind of situations. And again, if you're tied into a space that's too big for you, that's really not very good for you, for your business's financial health. So also, many businesses, whether they're growing or shrinking or not, just don't know how many people want to come into the space, or how the space is going to be used. So co-working has become so much more popular with businesses across the board globally, no matter the size, no matter the industry. So we've actually seen such a huge demand increase from people coming out of traditional lease space. When it comes to co-workers, I think we've had a real boom in people working from home, and I think that's great. I think I'm all for flexibility, especially for people that find that gives them, greater access to work opportunities, because they can work, remotely for companies that otherwise they wouldn't have access to, or they've got caring responsibilities or health issues that they need to manage, whether it's mental or physical. I think that there's so many benefits to flexibility when it comes to where you work and how you work, and co-working spaces do support that. Especially if you've got a space that you can access in random hours, like over the weekend or late at night or early in the morning. But I think that the whole kind of glamorization of working from home or working from anywhere has slightly diminished. And I think we're going to hit kind of more of an equilibrium between no one working from home, or if you're working from home, then you're a digital nomad, and that was the kind of category, versus everyone working from home, and that being really like cool and flexible, and you can work in the garden and whatnot, to a point where actually people realize that it's not great for your mental health or for your progression to always be at home. I think we benefit so much from having conversations with people, whether they're planned or not, being face to face. I personally feel totally isolated if I do work from home. I really, I don't feel entirely well. I feel like I'll pop out to, a coffee shop or the gym, and I'll just want to talk to the person on the front desk. And I'm obviously quite extroverted, and it's different for different personality types and phases of life. But I think people have now come to recognize that it's not good for your mental health to only ever work from home. And I'm speaking generally. So I think probably what we're finding now is that there's just a need for greater flexibility, but also we've now learned that there definitely is benefit to being around other people. And I think co-working spaces will only continue to flourish now in the new world of work. I think also traditional landlords that just have empty units are realizing they would need to come in and fit the space out, pay for their business rates, which are scary, and all of the utilities, organize cleaning, try and organize some fun for their team, whether it's like a yoga class or some, coffee, drinks, whatever. That actually maybe landlords, to entice people into their space, need to provide a service. So there's also a huge rise of landlords working with co-working spaces to offer more of a managed service, which I'm all for. So yeah, it's a really interesting time, lots of changes, but I think all positive for co-working spaces.
Well, I think the interesting part is, I mean, when you talk about empty spaces, I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but I mean, the option of either isolating your company in a unit in some building, or having your unit, but within a space where you're able to have conversations with people within similar industries or completely different industries, so you're actually in connection with people. And I think with every single interaction you have, even, just a conversation like we're having at the moment, every time you have a conversation with someone, I strongly believe that you have new insights.
Yeah,
and you get to revisit questions again, and you have a chance to see something different. So I think from the point of view of growth and development, being in connection, in communication with other people, I think that's I find the concept of co-working absolutely wonderful. But that's my personal perspective. It's not relevant here. But I think it's a very interesting development that's going on in general in business.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of, so I remember we had a conversation a couple of years ago, and we were talking about creativity, we were talking about podcasting, and I know that you used to, I don't know, maybe you still do, run a podcast on the side. And I remember telling you there's this really creative person and part of you that needs feeding. Tell us a bit about that. What made you set it up in the first place, and is it something you're still doing?
It is, yes. I am currently recording less than I was, but still recording. So on the side of working and podcasting, I'm doing a master's at the moment at Imperial, so it's quite full on. Though I do have people in my class that also, everybody has a full-time job in my class. There's kind of, it's an MBA. So you can do an MBA full-time, or you can do it part-time and work, and everybody in my class is working. But I have people in my class that are working, doing an MBA, and have children. So I really have nothing to complain about. So it's only me, my own bedtime and my own meal times that I need to worry about. But I am still doing the podcast. It's called Favorite Positions. And I always say it's not as sexy as it sounds. It's about helping people find what they love to do work-wise. And I started it about 4 or 5 years ago. Reason being is, as I've said many times now, I love being around people, and I benefit so much from the conversations I have in my profession. Like, I'm meeting people that are basing themselves out of a place where they feel like they can really grow their team and or crack on and be their best. So I have a lot of positivity around me, and I find that really inspiring. Even if I'm hearing about things that probably aren't up my street, I still benefit from being around people that are inspired and have discovered some passion or are motivated by what they're doing, I think that kind of energy spreads. And it's definitely been very good for me. What I realized was that most of my friends hate their jobs. Most of the people you speak to, you go down the pub on a Friday or a Thursday, they just can't wait for it to be Friday because they really just don't like their jobs. And I think that's so sad. As I've said, we spend so much of our time at work. And if work is meaningful, then it's, pretty much a guaranteed fact that you're going to be happier. So I wanted to be able to kind of share the conversations that I benefit from. And the other reason, and I don't always tell everyone this, but I will tell you, is I like being an employee. It works quite well for me. I'm entrepreneurial, but in a way that I still would like to have a salary. Maybe one day I'll take a risk big enough, which would see me do my own thing completely. But for now, I really like being part of a team, being employed. That being said, I was always a kind of fearful of just being Alex from projects or Alex from Plus X or Alex from X and Y. And I wanted to have something of my own, something that I could control creatively. Kind of like an extension of my personal brand that wasn't purely, dictated by where it was that I worked. So I've really enjoyed coming up with the whole concept of the podcast. I interview leaders, founders, people that work in HR, all different industries. And normally I group them by some kind of like theme. So the most recent series has been called The Modern Career Playbook, and it's all about people that are doing things a bit differently. I've had work in progress, people that are working on new concepts and are changing what they're doing, and many others along the way. And I'll record 10 episodes and then release them weekly across a set period of time. It's normally a Monday for 10 weeks. And so that enables me to have a break and think creatively about what I want to do next. There's no pressure because it's totally mine. I don't make any money from it by choice. I really just like to have something which is totally determined by how I feel and what I want to put out there rather than, a sponsorship agreement or whatever else. So I get so much benefit from having something which is really fun, lighthearted. I benefit from those conversations, and then I benefit so much more from hearing people say that they also really enjoyed listening. And it's also been great to be able to platform interesting people that are doing great work, and they benefit from that too. So yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about podcasting. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I completely understand. I mean, I love talking to people on here because I feel that it's always really enriching when you can also connect people with what they do to people that they would never have met, and it's just a fun thing to do on the side. Yes, you can choose, you've got loads of things you can do with your time, but actually it's a really nice thing to do. So from the point of view of where you are at the moment, I know that you're really far into the MBA. Do you have a clue as to what's next for you on the journey?
It's a good question, Claire. I think about it all the time. I went into the MBA saying I'm the only person on this course that doesn't want to change their job. I really love my job, and that's definitely still stands. But I've had some really great experiences through the course and traveled a lot, from Bulgaria to Chile to New York, and we're going to Rome soon. I've met people from all around the world, and I do very much love my job. But as I was saying to you just before we joined the call, my job is totally location based, and that's been great for the 10 years I've been in this industry. However, I don't know, and I think that I need to be okay with that. I don't know. I'm not looking to change in the immediate future. We've got some really exciting plans here at Projects. But one thing that I'm really interested in is how the world of work is changing, especially for people in junior roles. It's very hard for young people to get into meaningful work, and through my
receive
podcast,
the right training.
Through my podcast, I'm helping in some ways with that, with inspiration, but I would love to develop something which went a step further and actually help connect them with companies. And I could do that as part of what I do, my day job, because a lot of the companies that are based here are often hiring and working out what they need. But I think it's only going to become harder, unfortunately, for a younger generation to be the most attractive option for an employer, given AI and other issues that we've spoken about already today. I just think, yeah, it's tough out there. And, we touched on schools a few times now, but
Yeah.
are schools really setting people up for exactly how the world of work is now? No. And that's only changing every year. And I constantly think about what I can do, because I have a lot of contacts, being based in a workspace where, thousands of people are registered here. And I don't have the answers yet, but it's definitely something which I'm keen to explore, see how I could make a difference.
Yeah. I think with it was interesting when you were talking about your experience and in terms of being an employee and saying actually you like being employed. And I think, today I was having a conversation actually earlier this week with someone. We were talking about it being fashionable, for everyone to want to have their own business, be self-employed, and how actually you're always employed by someone. Even if you're self-employed, you're employed by the client. You're never 100% free. It's a bit of an illusion to some extent, and it is very much about, as long as you're enjoying the activities that you're doing, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, that's what it's about. There is freedom in that happiness, isn't there?
Totally.
From the point of view of achievements, what would you say which achievement of yours would you say you're most proud of? If you're allowed to be proud.
Oh, I'm definitely proud. I'm definitely proud of lots of things.
Good.
I think maybe it's a bit cheesy, but I'm just the most proud of my team. And I'm not afraid to say that I've played a big part in that. And I definitely hold my hands up when they're not happy. I've played a big part in that as well. And they're not happy all the time. And there's my hands tied when it comes to lots of things. Because as you say, like, we all have people that we are reporting into, and those people have people that they're reporting into, and we all have, kind of targets and challenges. And it's not always easy, but when I see my team happy and thriving and learning and even making mistakes and dealing with them well, I'm really proud. So I'm most proud of my team. And I guess being more introspective than that, it's going back to what I said about learning from experiences that I wasn't happy with. I'm really proud of myself for using that as fuel and learning rather than letting that beat me down, because it's very, very, very easy to come back from a hard day's work and just want to cry or want to quit or, want to really moan. But actually, ultimately, you are in control of your own happiness at work, your own progression, and making those difficult decisions. I don't take that lightly. As I said, I would put my success and my growth and development down to leaving places when they no longer served me. So I'm glad that I did that, and I'm glad that I've now got the kind of skills and experience and leadership capabilities to build a healthy team culture. And like I said, it's definitely not perfect, and I've definitely always got more to learn, but I'm proud of how I've applied myself through challenges and to be where I am now with great people around me that are doing wonderful things.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask a question, but actually you answered that. So it brings me to my final question, which is a little bit random, but I mean, you organize networking events, you organize socializing events for other people. You are a sociable creature, you're an extrovert. If you were to have a party and could invite 5 celebrities or historical figures, or they can be sociologists. Who would you invite to the table to have your dinner party?
That's such a good question, Claire. I would have to say, I haven't thought about the other 4, but the first person that comes to mind is Pamela Anderson. I love Pamela Anderson. I think she's great. If you haven't watched her documentary, I would highly recommend it. She's gone through a lot and was characterized and kind of put in a box for being one thing. And she's so much more than that. She's actually an animal rights activist, and I was hugely inspired by her when I was younger, because she came and spoke when I was living in Cambridge. She came and spoke at the debating union, and my school took me to take part in a debate the next day, and my dad was like, Alex, Pamela Anderson was there the night before, she can do it, you can do it. And I don't know why, I've just always grown up thinking that she's really cool, and I found inspiration in her not letting people's categorization of her stop her. It did for a while, and she talks about that in her documentary. She's great. Who else would I invite? Who would be a fun vibe? I really love Gary Neville.
Mhm.
Gary Neville is actually a really kind businessman. If you ever watch him on Dragon's Den, he's one of the only people. He comes as a guest sometimes as one of the dragons. And he's like the only person I've ever seen on there that will say, look, I'm not going to invest, but I want to connect you with my friend because he'll be able to help you. Whereas all the other dragons are like, I'm in or I'm out.
Yes or no.
Either you've got me and you've got everything I can give you, or not. And there's no benefit to Gary in connecting some guy that's running a supplement business with someone he knows. But he's just a kind person, and I find him wonderful. Who else? I'd want to have someone really funny, like Catherine Ryan. I find her hilarious. I've seen her do stand up live, and she's just really funny. So I'd have Catherine Ryan because she'd be a great vibe. And then I just want to have a really good chef. So maybe Ottolenghi could come and he could cook for us. And then I'd maybe like some live performance. So Joss Stone, because Joss Stone has the most beautiful voice, and she's the best person I've ever seen sing live, and she really connects with her audience in such a special way. She was like throwing out sunflowers to the crowd, and she's just really sweet. And so we'd have great food, and then she could sing, and then we'd have a great chat, and it would be funny.
That is fantastic. It's funny actually. You think about it along the same lines as me. I'm thinking I need different parts of me that need to be satisfied at the table.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you on Freeflow Coffee Time Chats. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday and weekend. And
Thank you.
I look
You
forward
too.
to catching up again soon.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
You're very welcome. Let's chat soon.
Yeah, definitely.